pleasure of meeting Rosie some time ago in a wonderful lunch group called the Ripe Tomatoes. Fun name, isn't it? Some people call it the overripe tomatoes. And we have a good time when we meet. And I'm getting to know Rosie a little more every time I get to be with her. I had the great pleasure of hearing her yesterday. She always shares from the heart and the soul, helps to activate our souls. She has rich stories from her life that she shares. And you know, the stories of the tribe belong to the whole tribe. And as she shares, believe me, you're in for a treat. She enlivens you and helps you to accept your genuine self and move to that. And she also is very helpful with recognizing us as multidimensional beings. And that many of the experiences that you all have, and maybe you didn't used to have someone to talk to about it, well now you can. There's more of us coming out talking about it. And Rosie is certainly one who is there for the spirit, for whatever's needed at the moment. And I appreciate you, Rosie, and I welcome you. And let's give her a warm applause to bring her up here.
Hi. Happy Mother's Day and Grandmother's Day to all your mothers. And thank you, men who have made us mothers.
You're welcome.
I'm serious. I am very serious about that. And I'm going to invite you to reach out to some women who may have a challenge on this day. They may have had children that they gave up for adoption. They may have children they lost in miscarriage. And it's a day, it's a hard day for those mothers. And I invite you, if you know one, to reach out, either emotionally or huggily. Okay, so when you said something about tribe, I had the pleasure of working at Taos Pueblo for 7 years. And Native Americans, when they pray first to the bones of their ancestors. And second, they pray to their future ancestors. And then they pray to the great mystery. Just an idea. And instead of Mother Earth, they relate to the earth as Mommy Earth. It makes a difference, believe me. I always begin reading a poem because poets say they take the world and they do this and then they do that. It takes me a whole book. They do it in 4 stanzas. So I want to read you a poem by Mary Oliver to ground our time together. And it's about the earth. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locusts, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, Stay a while. The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say, and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. The name of that poem is When I Am Among the Trees, from her book, Thirst. So, living future pull. Future pull to me is an energy, a frequency. It's part of our GPS. And for me, GPS is God presencing system. So future pull is an energy that pulls us into our authentic self, which of course is an aspect of the divine. And future self is a wild card. Okay? If you think that your life is in order and in control and it's going like this, or maybe like this, future pull thinks you're a candidate for evolution. Okay, so future pull is an evolutionary impulse. It's drawing you into your future self. Now we know past, present, future is all one. But future pull asks us to go beyond what we know we're capable of being or doing. Is this making sense? Okay? So future pull is like an inner invitation, and you recognize it. And you don't recognize it with your linear mind. You recognize it with your soul. It's like this inner impulse that says, pay attention, listen up, take action. Okay? And if you take action, the only guarantee is that you will no longer belong to yourself in ways that are familiar to you. How many know this? Would you raise your hand? Oh, look around. Look around. We got some shy ones that are just kind of waiting. Put them up. Put them up. Yep. There we go. Okay, so future pull really calls us into our divinity. So you know, I wrote this book called Living Future Pull because I dared to ask a question. And here's the question I asked, which took a whole book to answer. Just a second. I actually had it marked earlier. Here's the question I asked that started this book. What if our journey on earth is as simple as believing and trusting that each of us is the meeting point between earth and heaven? What if my life were as simple as believing that God is having a Rosalie experience here on earth through me? What if it's as simple as God, Nanette, is having a human experience through you? And Robert, I think I saw you coming in. Where are you? Rob, I got two. I'll take you both. Roberts, three? Three Roberts. Roberts, what if it were possible that God is having a human experience through you? That's what started this book. So each of the strands on this book are themes where future pull circled me. I said yes and got claimed and was forever changed. For me, the word transcend is ending the trance. And it's ending the trance of small personal story. So people who were with me yesterday, I talk about self-narrative. Self-narrative is personal story. It's based on fear, scarcity, and drama. Future pull pulls you away from personal story, so you can begin to claim your potential that you haven't claimed until now. Now, initially, future pull, as I said, it's this impulse. It's this impulse. You can't deny it. You'll feel it. You can choose not to. You can choose to say, "Oh no, thank you, I'm not ready." And guess what? Future pull doesn't give up on you. It continues circling. So it's really important, at least in my experience, to pay attention to what's circling us. To really pay attention, hold space for ourselves. So many of us know how to hold space for others. Future pull is an invitation to hold space, to see what's circling us or what's commanding us. The invitation gets louder to the degree that we crab walk. Our crabs in Maine are smaller than your crabs here, but they walk the same. They never go straight. They do this. I don't know if they end up at the same location that they would end up if they went straight, but they don't do that. So future pull initially conceals more than it reveals initially. There's an invitation, there's an impulse. It's a feed forward kind of dynamic. We're all familiar with feedback. This is a feed forward. It's in training you to be open to the possibility that the future is a place of revelation, not fear. In order to believe that, we need to be comfortable with the unknown. We need to be comfortable with not knowing. We need to really start playing with the idea that unknowing is more important than knowing, because oftentimes what we know is what we've been taught, and that's limited in many instances. Before 3 o'clock this morning, I had planned what I was going to talk to you about. And then my guides woke me up and said, "Oh, no. And I had even, how many of you know Norris Spencer? Norris is a storyteller. And I worked with Norris on the 2 stories I was going to tell you. And I'm right on the edge of future pull, because I'm not telling you those stories. I'm going to tell you a story. My guide said, nope, this is a story for this group. So here we go. I want you to, if you will, track the future pull as I tell the story. So 4 years ago, I came to Virginia Beach. My daughter had moved here with my 2 grandchildren. She'd lived in Newport. And the deal was I raised my 2 grandchildren for 9 years. My daughter was in residency to be an anesthesiologist. Family joke is she puts them to sleep and I wake them up. That's the family myth. And it's true. I couldn't find a place that felt energetically compatible in Newport News, and I love the beach. and I did my master's thesis on the Society for Psychical Research in London. And so Edgar Cayce kept coming up. So I moved 5 houses away from ARE, and the lease wasn't ready on my house. So I wandered over to ARE, and the receptionist said, "Oh, you've come here to hear June Bro." I said, "Who's June Bro?" And she said, "Oh, you don't know June Bro? Well, just go over there." I said, "Okay." I walked into a room. Some of you know she did weekly chats at ARE. And she welcomed me, and she looked me right in the eye, and she said, "Why are you here?" And I knew in an instant that she was why I was there. I knew it. But I chose not to say that because I didn't know anybody in the group, and I thought, oh, that sounds really weird. Over the 4 years, June and I became friends, went to Search for God groups, went to Glad Helpers groups. I helped her to kind of ground her chats. And this book is dedicated to June. Okay? I'm fast forwarding about 18 months ago. I invited June to 4 sales, the condominiums right on the beach, just down the street, for a weekend, because I thought it would be fun to get her out of her retirement home, and she loves the beach. We're sitting having a glass of wine, and I say, "June, do you think you'll have any regrets when you die?" And she looked at me and said, "Yes, dear." A second didn't go by. "Yes, dear." I said, "What was that? What's that?" And she said, "I will regret that I didn't write my own book." Sometimes we are agents of future pull. Okay, so future pull is just an energy. It's here. And I said, oh, because I'm a writer, I know how to do that. Oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it? And she said, 11. And I knew we had made a soul agreement. I knew future Paul had claimed us at that moment. Is this making sense? Is this resonating? Okay. And when I make a soul agreement, I'm fully there. I don't want to create more karma this lifetime. Karma. I heard my main accent. I heard my main accent, Diane. So we began. Some of you know June's health declined during the last year, and both of us wondered if it was in her highest good to do this. And we had a soul agreement. Okay, next chapter. I'm in my bed, middle of the night. I hear a voice that said, "I need to talk to my Junie. I need to talk to my Junie." I had no idea who the voice was. It was actually a little scary. As a side, my mother's name was June, but no one called her Junie, so I'm figuring, oh, that's not it. As it evolved, the voice was Harmon, June's husband, who had been dead for 20 years. He wanted to speak to her. I said, okay. So the next day, I visited June and I said, have you talked to Harmon since he died? And she said, oh yeah, maybe once. So, well, would you like to? She said, oh yeah, who can we find that can do that? And I said, I can do that. Harmon came through and basically said to her, I know you're thinking about dying or living. And from my perspective, there's just one question you need to answer. And that question is, how can you most serve? Staying earthside, staying alive, or being in the afterlife. And then he proceeded to tell her that he had thought about reincarnating 4 years ago, but had chosen not to because he wanted to be there when she made her transition, because he wanted to show her the depth of his devotion. But there was no pressure. There was no pressure about that. It was just ta-da. And then June decided that writing this book was service, and she made a deeper commitment. Hyman came through 2 more times. Once to tell her that spreading word about Edgar Cayce was, quote, their mutual mission. Mutual mission, his words. And that mission did not end when he died. Think about this. This is a really important concept. That they had a soul agreement. She wasn't even aware of the soul agreement. And the soul agreement was to spread the word about Edgar Cayce's work. He's dead, he can't do it. She said, I gave my power away to Harmon. He was the writer, so, he did it. She supported him. And now part of her mutual mission, her part was to finish this book. And he pledged to help her, and did. He said, I'm gonna help you remember, because she was losing her memory, as some of you know. And he said, I'm going to activate your third eye, and you'll be able to remember and focus and concentrate. And it was a challenge, as some of you know. And he came, and he came through one last time. The book was almost done. June was still here. We had a team who worked on this book. It was an amazing example of collaboration, collaborative, a tribe living future, Paul. Harmon came through and said, oh, by the way, we thought about the cover of this book. And I wasn't there. And I said, no. And he said, well, here, you need to call this person. She owes me a favor. The person was Nanette Chris. He wanted Nanette to design the cover. He told her what colors, and she did. And it's gorgeous. And when I'm through talking to you, I'll show it to you, because I have it. So Nanette agreed, spent hundreds of hours, volunteered. Everybody volunteered for this project. Harmon came through at the end and said, another way of spreading the word about Edgar Cayce is to channel all the funds that are generated from this book into a scholarship. And he didn't say the Harmon and June Bro Scholarship. Guess what he said? The June Bro Scholarship. And then Kathy Mann, who's sitting over here. Raise your hand, Kathy. I know you don't like attention, but too bad. Kathy Mann volunteered to do the editing. Ellen Casey wrote an endorsement. It doesn't stop there, because I was looking for endorsements for June's book and reached out to Gladys McGarry. Some of you know Gladys McGarry. Dr. Gladys McGarry. I'd never met her, but I'm not shy about calling people, right, Nanette? Nanette and I hadn't met when I made my cold call. Oh, by the way, I've been talking to Harmon Bro. It was kind of like, oh, nice day. And that wasn't, yeah, it was fine. So I emailed Dr. Gladys, told her about June's book, told her if she would like, I would send her a copy. I got an email back from her the next day saying, I love June. Of course I'll write an endorsement. So I sent her the book. The next day, I get a call from her saying, a whole bunch of stuff has come up reading this book. Can I talk to you? I said, okay. So we talked, and she said, you know that phrase, mutual mission? I said, uh-huh. She said, Bill, my husband, and I had a mutual mission. And I can't get it out of my head. His future pull again. Can you hear it? Thank you. I can't get it out of my head. She said, are you the one who channeled Harmon Bro? See, I kept this part of my life a secret, okay? And it's kind of like I outed June in terms of telling her story, and she actually read parts of her story at her Bon Voyage party, and then she in turn outed me because she read some of Harmon's channeling in her chat. And I felt so exposed. I went home and locked the doors and took the phone off the hook and put all the shutters down. It was like, so when there are soul agreements, we act as future pull for one another. Future pull isn't just something out there. We are all agents for each other about future pull. So Gladys asked if I thought I could channel Bill, and I said, well, I don't know. Harmon just kind of galloped in. I didn't invite him. And she said, yeah, but I need to talk to him because this mutual mission it's got me. It's got me. And she got a huge grant May 3rd for her global village. And she wanted Bill to have a say, not a say, a voice. Thank you. Make a contribution. And that was her reason for asking if I could get in touch with Bill, because she knew they had a mutual mission. When they got divorced, it felt to her like that shattered. It didn't. A mutual mission transits dimensions. So I hope you can appreciate that. It was future pull who brought me here. You know, this cosmic. I just imagine there are cosmic synchronizers who are like in charge of time, place, and they're putting us in the right time and the right place to encounter what we need to encounter. I met June. June had the courage to say, yeah, this is what I'm going to really regret not doing if I don't do it before I die. I happen to know how to write, and I have a publishing company, and I know the terrain, and it's easy for me. Gladys, who knew June, they were very good friends, recognized this thing about mutual mission. We called in Bill. He visited for an hour, had a lot to say about the foundation that they hadn't thought of. That's what I mean when I say future pull initially, there's more concealed than revealed. The revealing depends on taking action. Okay? Each time we take an action, more is revealed. Future pull isn't going to give us the whole design. We have to do our part. It's this co-creation principle. We have to do our part. We have to say, yes, I'm willing, even though I don't know where this is going to go. Even though it doesn't conform to anything I've experienced or been taught. I don't even know anyone who would do this. Does that make sense? Okay, so here's the big reveal. Here's June's book. We worked diligently on this for 18 months. It's at the printers now. I set up the Junebro Scholarship. All proceeds to this go to the Junebro Scholarship. It's at the printers now, being printed. Copies will be available in probably 5 days. You can order a copy if you want on the back table. If you order from my company, 100% goes to June. If you want to support both the ARE bookstore and June, you can purchase it there. They'll take 60%. 40% will go into her scholarship fund. Future pull is a wild card, and it has enormous repercussions that we don't even see the possibilities for. That's what I mean, feed forward. We don't see the zillions of possibilities. All we need to do is surrender to the unknown future as a place of revelation. So I leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening.